This conference will now be recorded.
So in Linux, I think this came out in RHEL 8. Um, the the actual product is called Cockpit. We'll go Red Hat. And so again, Cockpit allows you to um, basically administer your servers. Gives you like an interface to administer your servers, right? So here's an example of what it looks like here. So they give you some what makes you Cockpit unique, builds up existing functionality. There's no lock-in. Feel free to use with other tools. Um, you get information about it. So here, installing Cockpit, installing the Cockpit packages, opening the port, and starting the Cockpit servers. All right. So they walk through like how you're supposed to set it up. Because we're in Google Cloud, we should have access to the extras repo and the optional repo. And so basically here, we're just gonna highlight this here, and we're gonna install. I need to be root to install this. And I'm probably gonna need a GUI. Hopefully it'll download all the GUI stuff, and maybe I can use some or a login. I mean, not a login. Or some type of terminal access to it. I may have to start a server on it, and we'll walk through that. But this gets through, as you can see, it's downloading the dependency. So when I did a Yum uh, cockpit and cockpit dashboard, it said, okay, I have these two packages I'm going to grab, but these packages have dependencies. And you can see what repos that come from, and they tell you right there, and it tells you what packages it's installing. All right, you can see subscription manager, RHSM certificates, um, 38 packages, and so forth. So it's going and it's doing this thing, installing those packages. All right, so that's done. All right. So now the next thing we need to do is, let's go back over here. We have to open up firewall ports. So, all right, this is where Google Cloud comes into play, because we need to get to that machine. And if you're not in Google Cloud, you could probably access very easily from your machine, but that's okay. So now we need to edit. I don't think I can edit it right here. I think I'm gonna have to go somewhere else and edit this, but let me find out right here. Yep. So let's go over here. I can put network tags, but let's go over here. We're gonna come down to compute engine, not compute engine, sorry. We'll come down to VPC network on the menu, and then come back and then go to firewall. All right. Now you can create a rule. And this rule that you're creating is this right here. You want to open up port 9090 on TCP. And so the best way to do it is name it what it's for. And you say for rail servers. Turning on firewall logs can generate a number. So if you want to turn on logs, you can. Ingress, specified targets. You want all instances in the network or a specified target. We don't have any. I didn't tag it, so I'm gonna go back and tag it. We're just gonna create this for now. Now open up another terminal. IP ranges. For right now, we're just gonna do this right here: 000/0. So from anywhere, anybody from anywhere can get to this. You can do like we did in inside of AWS and say, do what is my IP, and then go by that. right? So you see you do a 0.0.0/0, and now we want to specify the ports on TCP, and that port is 9090. And we're opening that up for our machine, but we have a tag here. Let's say rel instance, right? And then we'll say create. Make sure all fields are filled out. What field did I miss? Oh, it doesn't like maybe it'll take that with a dash versus a lowercase. Yeah. All right, create. All right, so now inside of here we should have a firewall created. And where is my firewall? Let's go by name. What did I name it just now? I thought I named it rel instance. Let's go by port. Where's my 9090? Oh, right here. Oh, cockpit. That's right. There it is. So we allow. All right. So now what we need to do now is go back to our compute engine. We need to go back to our instance. And then now we need to edit our instance. And then here, the network tags, what I say, rel instance, rel dash instance. If I remember correctly, you have to make sure the tags line up so it can use that firewall rule. All right, so now let's save. All right, so that's our firewall rule. And on our machine, let's do a check here. Let's do a system. Let me see. Let's do a next. Let's do a yum info IP tables or firewall D. I just want to see if this installed. I should have did a yum I should have did an RPM query. Let this run through because I don't want the database to stall. If I control C, it's gonna create a lock on the database. So let that run through. What I should have did was an RPM query to see if IP tables or firewall D is installed. And what I'm looking for, I am looking to check to see if the RPMs are installed for that for those packages. So now let's grep for firewall D. So firewall D is installed. By default, it should have been, and then IP tables is installed. So now let's look at system CTL status of firewall D. All right, so firewall D is running. It's giving me some warnings about some allow zone drifting enabled and so forth. And then let's look at IP tables. Yeah, it shouldn't be running. So firewall D is the new default for rel 8. Rel 7, it was, I think it was it's still firewall D in rel 7. I think they picked up in 7. It might have picked up in 7.2, 7.3. And switched over as firewall D is the main one. All right. So now we need to enable the service cockpit. So that what that does is says, hey, whenever this machine boots up, I want the target to be in Level 3, I want this to be enabled. As, so when it boots up, it knows to turn this service on. And then the next thing we need to do is we need to start the service. All right, so let's come back over here and start the service. And then we can do a couple of things. We can do a system CTL status cockpit socket. So you can see that it's actively listening on port 9090. Now, here comes our test. So for my local box, let me pull this over to here. Let me clear. Port 9090 should be active on this machine. So what we're gonna do now is go back to our machine here. And I wanna get the public IP of this machine. Let me click in here. Let's see, where is it at? Right here. Here's my external IP. Like, now this may be blocked, but we're about to find out. Let's see. Okay, I think I have Telnet installed. Let's see. I do. So Control C. So at this point, I should be able to Telnet to this particular machine on port 9090. So I got a connection to that machine on port 9090. So that means from my local instance to that public machine, all the way through the firewall, port 9090 is open on that box. And we open it up on that box by opening up the firewall rules there on the actual instance. And it's another thing that it also verifies is that this firewall D is not blocking 9090 that is on there. So that's what that gave us. Okay, are you following along with that?
Kind of, sort of.
Okay. So now it says that that is open. I should now be able to go to this host name on port 9090 or that IP address on port 9090. So let's go back here. And this may not work because I don't think I have my GUI installed, but we're about to find out. All right, so let's do advanced and let's proceed. Okay, I am now on the public. I'm on my machine here where I log in. So now here's the other part. It's asking for a username and password. I've never set a username and password, but I did set a username and password. So the ones from Google Cloud, we get in by a key exchange. However, if I go etc password, I did create some users in here, right? So let's give Tam a password. And let's not make it too easy because you get hacked real good, real quick. So let me do this. I think I did that right. Yeah, I did. I thought I did that wrong. Okay, now let's see if I can get in. Wrong username and password. Let's see. I think I may have to add the user into. Okay, cool. All right, so it let me in. So now with Cockpit installed on this machine, let's go to the dashboard. And on this dashboard, it's giving us the CPU, the memory, the network, the disk IO. You see, it's telling me I got limited access because I'm not a super user. Yeah, if the firewall is disabled, everything is open on the machine, but this firewall wasn't disabled. This firewall is actually running. And we verified that with system CTL status firewall D. And it's active and it's running, right? So that's been verified. So now we can do, so you ask how many characters would you use for a password, say at least 10. Well, so let's check what the minimum is, right? So we can do a vim on etc logins.def. And login.def is going to tell us, well, we got a min and max age, that what our UID is, what our GID is, what the system count should be, and it should also give us, oh, you know what it is? I think Pam gives us password length. Let me go back up, make sure I'm right. Yeah, I think Pam gives us the password length. Yeah, Pam D system off. Let's go check it. All right, let's see. Do they have any shorts or whatever? Because what I'm looking for is L credit, U credit, C credit is what I'm looking for. I think you need to have a minimum of 7 is what I remember by default. But I'm looking for where that gets defined at. And that's usually like an L credit or C credit. L credit. Don't have it. So let me go over here and show you what I'm talking about. Man, let's see. Let's do Linux L credit. So force it's cracklib to force your so U credit, L credit, O credit is what I was looking for. Let's go down here. Min length. D credit is the number of digits in a new user password. The U credit is the number of uppercase, and then L credit is the lowercase. Okay, so I was looking for min length. But when you are setting up your machines, say if you were using um, just this local machines and you want to have like 5 or 10 people log in, you can set their minimum password length. You can set their how the complexity of their passwords with the D credit, the U credit, and the L credit. It was 5 for you. Okay. All right. So we have an overview. So it's telling us this is not registered with any type of like a satellite server or something like that, but it gives us system information about it. So let's view hardware details. So in here it tells us what type of card is in there. There's an Intel network card. They got virtual drivers from Red Hat, and that's on a PCI. It's an Intel Xeon processor. The Google is from BIOS. The last time it was updated was this one. Let's go to logs. So I'm assuming it's reading from var/log. Let's look at networking. It gives us the ETH0. It doesn't give us that public IP. It's just only local to that box, right? That other one is probably a NAT. All right. So here's all those users that I created. Remember those? created all those users. And then here are the services that are probably up that run on startup. Let's see, that's enabled. These are the servers that are enabled by default. Here are the services that are disabled by default. You can turn these services on if you want to. And static, I think these may be like the sockets. So cockpit, is running. Dcredit, like these are like cockpit. You would start as a service, but it was like we started like a socket though. All right, down here they give you applications, right? So there's an application that install. Anytime there's a kernel dump, we need to do a K dump. We want to do a diagnostics on it. Diagnostics. See, no alerts from SE Linux, but it's in enforcing mode. I don't have access to the subscription, and then if I want a terminal, on here, I can get a terminal. So I can go to cd/temp, and I'll be in my on that box itself. So Cockpit gives you a way to interact with your box. Now you can, as root user, you can add more machines to this interface if you wanted to. So there's your SSH keys if you needed to add that. You can also change the color to white if you want to, or dark. Right? So that's what Cockpit does for you. Any questions on that? That was pretty cool. Cool. All right. So it was saying in here you can create a new account, but I didn't log in as root user, so I can't create an account. But what we can test is, let's test this theory. Let's go into, let's cd over to Etsy, and let's vim sudoers, and let's look for the wheel group, and let's add, see, we do have a wheel group. Let's go to group, and then let's go to wheel, and then let's go here, insert, come on, there we go, and let's add Tam here. All right, and then let's go back over to here, and let's log Tam out. Now let's log Tam in. And what I'm trying to see if it's going to allow me to have some root access. I see I can connect to other machines. If I remember my password. No, I still got limited access. It wants me to, so let's do this. Let's set that. What? No way. What do you mean passwords don't match? Are you crazy? I set the password. Maybe it's too short. Let's see. Yeah, it don't like me. It does not like me. I was trying to go in as root. Uh, let me think about that. Because there's no password to authenticate with. But let me see something. Let me see if it'll take me. Maybe I may have to add myself to the sudoers file. Yeah. Let's see. Let's go here. Let's exit. Let's su-tam. Let's put in the password. All right. And then when I sudo, put the password in, I may have to add myself to the file. Well, yeah, I'm there. So this should let me in. Let's see. Okay. Now I got administrator access. All right, dashboard. Do I get anything different? Okay, so now when I go in as admin, I get software updates. I didn't see that before. My subscriptions. It tells me what my subscriptions are tied to. I can auto attach. It gave me NC Linux before, kernel dump. We got that diagnostics. I can create a diagnostics report, so it's generating that for me. My accounts, we had that before. We had services, but I should also overview. Yep. So let's go back to diagnostics report. So it's generating that SOS report that we did before. So that's cockpit. And I believe cockpit is going to be on the exam. So inside of here, they're asking, how do you create a user inside of cockpit? You saw that. How do you check for severities of your packages and so forth? We're not registered, so we don't see that. But if we were registered with a satellite server, we would see that. Let me look, see if there's anything else. No, I think you got an idea on how to create. Here's a download the report, the SOS report. I think you got an idea how to create a user. You come here, create an account, give it a username, a password, confirm. Should the account be locked, and then create. Here's the difference here. You don't get as much, like you can't put a description in like we normally can do and change the location of where the home directory is that like we can from command line, right? So it's not as freely as the other one. All right.
Is this on the 124 or the 134?
124.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, you'll see it if you create the user there. It'll go to /etc password, and we can double verify that by creating an account. We'll say new user test, and then we're gonna just give this user a password here. Create. Oh, I keep saying that. They do match. All right. So now if you went over to the terminal and you did a cat on etc password, and we're gonna pipe it over to tail and do the last 5 lines. We see new user right there. So everything is interactive back with the system. Cool. Same thing if you created a group or what have you. And that's cockpit. All right. So another one is they talk about how do you get help for them from the portal. We need this. I think does everybody have a Red Hat account? If you don't, you need to go here and get a Red Hat developers subscription. And the developers subscription is free. And you need to get this subscription because when we start playing around with the physical install of the server off an ISO and start playing around with this is what we're gonna have. So you need to get sign up for a developer's subscription. And here's a little bit more about what that subscription means that's older. You go into a little bit more information about it right here. I'll post this so you can check it out. Because we're gonna be using the developer subscription, like I said, for our stuff. Now I can't add nothing to my thing, so I'll post this in Slack inside of the study group. So we have that. Let's see, study group. Here you go. All right. So that was that. The next thing we're gonna do now. Let's go to the next one. Where are we at? All right. So now, I think you all know how to create users. I don't think we need to do that, but I'll go over it. File permissions, I believe we went over that clearly. I'll double check to see where you're at. Let's check your temperature real quick. Let's go over to bin. No, I like etc because it has a variety. But let's check your temperature real quick.
Are the file permissions the same as ACLs?
Nah.
No.
Mm-mm. Nope. Here, what are the file permissions on yum repo.d? What's the permissions there?
755.
Yep. What about on yum.conf?
777.
Yep. All right. What about on output?
664.
Okay. What about on this SSH thing here?
Right.
700.
All right. Does everybody know how she got how she's getting those?
They hear you?
If you don't know, you need to say something.
I don't know,
Okay.
but you
All
can
right.
go. But you know what? If you don't want to go through it tonight, you don't have to. I can read up. If you don't,
That's all
that's on
right.
you. Okay, I don't want to hold everybody else up because I don't know what you're doing.
Okay. Hold on. Let's do this. If we want to get a directory, this is what we were trying to do the last time on etc. Go down. See, Mario, there it is again. What we had to do for this was it something star? Because this is supposed to give us directories. It should give us directories, but it does. I guess it gives us directories, but it's not giving directories in the file. That's okay. Don't worry about it. We're not gonna run through it tonight. All right. So do. Okay. We went through that. Okay. Processes and monitoring processes. The other one is controlling services and daemons, and then configuring secure SSH. That's what we got to do tomorrow. Right? And I'm looking at chapter. Oh, and networking. Okay, so we're gonna do some networking tomorrow. So on your machines, make sure you write down your IPs and so forth, and study up on subnetting. Just a brief, don't go too deep, because we're gonna go over this tomorrow. So you remember when we were over here on the firewall, right? So let's go back over to this firewall. And we're gonna do some. We're gonna create some rules. So let's go back to our cockpit here. Let's can we edit this? Should be able to edit this. All right. So in here, you see how they got these the how it's written out, meaning I can come from anywhere, but if the source IP was one from this network 192.168.2.0/24, that's how I know it's a network, and the .0 also gives that away too. That's how I know that that's a network. But I can come from, say, 192.168.2.3/32, meaning match every single bit. And if that every single bit doesn't match, then don't let them have access to this. So we're going to talk about that tomorrow when it comes down to networking. So be ready. And then after tomorrow, come next week, we're going to be finished with 124. Yep. Because only thing we got left is how to install after tomorrow. We have installing updating packages. We have file transfers, accessing the Linux file system, and explaining what the /dev, the partitions are, so forth and so on. And then the last but not least is analyzing the servers and getting support. So tomorrow and next week are our 2 weeks, and we're gonna knock them out. And then that's gonna give us time to go back through and at least give us 2 weeks to study. So the PE 124. 124 exam. Well, there we go. So this PE exam says, okay, we know what this is, right? We've been knocking those out. How to access a remote system using SSH, we're gonna do that. How to set up how to log in and switch users to multi-user targets, we're gonna do that. That's easy. Unpack files, doing tar, star, gzip, and bzip2. We know how to create a file and edit the file. We know how to delete a file, move a file, and create directories. We talked about soft links. We list and set change standard UGO and RGX permissions. We know about 777, 770, 775, 644, 664. We did that. Locate and read system documentation, man info, files, and user doc. So I think we got all of this covered, right? Except for the SSH. I'll show you that. That you're gonna be like, well, that was easy. So we got that part, right? The next one is how to boot and reboot a system, identify processes and skills. This is where we're at. Start and stop services and securely transfer files. Set the GID and the UID. Diagnose correct file permission problems. Manually mount a system. Oh, that's gonna be fun. So this right here is the crux right here. that we about to knock out. Start a service. We've done that. I'll run through that again. Configure the time servers. We've done that. Install and update packages. We've done that. Work with package module streams. I have to see what they mean by that. Modify the system bootloader. We have not done that. Basic networking, we're getting to that. But here, manage users and groups. We know how to create a user. We know how to create a group. We know how to change a password. We'll go through login.devs. Configure super user access. I just showed you that with the sudoers, or putting myself in the wheel group. Also delete and modify local groups and group memberships. And I'll go back over that, how to add a group. Remember, we added a group, and then we can go into the file and add a user to the group, or we can modify the group on command line. I'll re-go over that. But this right here is the crux right here. These last 2 weeks, these are your meat and potatoes. And then we'll go back through everything all over again in a crash course. But this way, the last 2 weeks, will be hitting like what you don't understand, right? And so I'll go back through and I'm gonna write a quiz. I'm gonna write a quiz for each one of these. Gotta be ready. All right.
So you said you guys went over soft links already?